Good morning. God, there's a lot of you guys. Um, when we come in, I hear a lot of times that we make you guys nervous. You're even now, okay? I'm not a speaker. I don't. Have we got any attorneys? I just need to know if I need to ignore one end of the room. You know the difference between an attorney and an accountant. We know we're boring. Okay, so I'm going to try to move this along. We're going to stay away from the technical stuff with the big words and the long explanations that leave you scratching your head. And I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about special investigations and what we do, and try to convince you that we're your friend as long as you're not stealing money. Okay. About 5 years ago, when Paul Joyce became state examiner, he had a vision that our department had two separate responsibilities to the public. One was to audit the financial statements, to opine on them, and to get you the information you needed to get through your bonding and keep the banks happy. And the other was to investigate fraud. If you go back to the Indiana Code, I don't think they really envisioned the auditing side of it when we were created. It was public corruption that prompted the creation of our department. So Paul recognized that was a pretty serious component, and so he created a special investigations division within our agency. He plucked some of the old timers out because of our experience, and he started training us in white-collar crime instead of audit procedures, and he chose a director that at the time was a liaison between the state police and the FBI. That individual hung around for about a year and left for greener pastures, but he then hired another guy that had retired from the FBI and had pretty significant criminal investigation background. So he did his best to give us the leadership that we needed to move forward with special investigations. The Special Investigation Division is broke down into two areas, north and south, pretty simple. As you can imagine, those are two really big areas to try to cover. And we've got, as you can see there on the left, about, I don't know, it's 14 or 15 investigators across the state that will deal with that. But that's a big area. So, and I missed one of my lines here. I'm going to go back. When I started this speech, I did a dry run on my dog just to kind of see if I was going to be able to get it done in time. Okay, I got it done in time, but my dog fell asleep. So, if you got to lay your head down, I'll understand. I'm just going to keep pushing. The Indiana Code requires that if you detect or have cause to believe, and reasonable cause, I guess, to believe that there's fraud in your office, that you reach out to us. Okay, that's legally not a choice, but realistically, it is a choice that each of you have to make when you see that, and that's not always an easy choice. It's one where, well, this just can't happen to me, and I'm telling you, it happens to the best of you. Okay, in the past 5 years, I'm going to guess the Special Investigations Division I know of, probably $3 million in theft that we've uncovered across the state. So it does happen. You're not alone if it happens. Best thing you can do is reach out to us, and that's going to be the main point of what I'm going to talk to you about today. Is I'm going to encourage you to feel comfortable that we're going to handle it professionally, and we're going to have your best interest at heart. So I guess my first point is theft does happen at the local unit. It doesn't matter how large or how small your unit is. We find it in everything from townships to the biggest city in the state, okay? And just a couple examples. Since I've been on, we had a county auditor that got a little slap happy with the county's credit card. And by the time we finished our special investigations, she had ran up a tab over $129,000 of personal expenses on the county's credit card. She remodeled her house, and she took a couple vacations, and so, you know, that was one. And I got to tell you, credit cards are just a nightmare. If you've got credit card issues, get control of them and become a pain. Just ride your officials to get that information, because if you don't, it's going to end up getting abused. Once they see they don't have to turn something in, it just grows and gets worse. So that's my speech on credit cards. Another one we had here not too long ago was a utility office, where the utility clerk was just taking collections, and I can go into more detail. I'm not going to here, but if you want to get more detail, these are published reports. Some of them have not been adjudicated yet, so I'm kind of sheltered about going into them much. But that one totaled over $150,000, and that was a town of probably 10,000 people. The next one, we had a school treasurer that again was caught with her finger in the credit cards. That one didn't have such a happy ending. She ended up committing suicide before we finished her audit, and that ended up over $275,000. We had a school maintenance director that was taking kickbacks from a vendor. These are more than just door prizes at a bingo game. His vendor paid off his Harley. He was, cutting regular checks to him for a couple $1,000s, and so when we went in, we got information and scheduled out all the payments the vendor had made to him, and then we took it a step further, and we looked at the purchases that the school had made from this vendor, and went back to other vendors that had similar products and calculated what they should have paid for them, and the school ended up paying around $875,000 more for that product than what they should have because of the kickbacks. It was kind of interesting because as a part of the investigation, we prepared a graph, and on one line we had the kickbacks, and on the other line we had the actual purchases of product from the vendor, and those two were almost parallel. As the purchases of the school, the product, the kickbacks went up and down, and so that was a pretty telltale sign. We had a CFO of a township, a large township. The township had a court, and this individual created some dummy accounts and was transferring court fees to these dummy accounts. And the dummy accounts had really official sounding names, but they were names that this individual had control over. And then he took the money out of them and used it for personal gain. Side note to that is that individual had been a field examiner about 5 years earlier. So that was not a fun thing for us. So what I'm going to tell you is it happens everywhere, okay? The ones I've given you are big ones, just to get your attention. We process numerous ones, though, that have thefts of, $1,000 to $10,000. And I'm not talking about mistakes. I'm not talking about, I miscalculated the payroll and added an extra payroll period this year because there was an extra week. I'm talking about they took money, put it into their account, and used it for their own personal gain. So, it does happen. I guess that's my point is it happens everywhere, and it happens with people that are good people. So, page 2. So, the requirement is that if you see something, you tell us. That's what happens, and that's not easy. That's because for a number of reasons. And so I put together a list of what I thought was the biggest reasons that it would be tough for me to do if I was an official, just to consider and address. And the first reason is nobody wants the bad PR for their office. I mean, that can't be good. But, excuse me, what I'm going to tell you is if you self-report it, there's going to be a certain amount of bad PR come out. But if you self-report it, you get ahead of it. You can paint it out and say, this was found out by us. We addressed it as soon as we found it, and we hope to move on here. What I can tell you is I can make you every assurance that our investigation will be kept confidential until the time at which we're complete and we've got all our facts in place. Obviously, at that time, we'll issue a report that will be a public report, but there's not going to be little rumors flying around. As a matter of fact, I've got a clerk treasurer right now that's not very happy with me because we're doing an investigation and she wants to know who we've talked to, what questions we've asked, what answers they've given us, and we won't share that with her even because that's how leaks happen. Whether they're inadvertent statements or whatever, it's just, we just play things very close to the vest. So if you have a problem, I can't guarantee you that it's not going to or cast a shadow over your office, but what I can guarantee you is that until it's done, it's not going to come from us. Okay, and if it turns out to be nothing, it's not, there'll not be anything. It won't hit the press. So the second reason is, well, I just don't feel the evidence is strong enough. And I would urge you to let us make that decision. Sometimes some of the things that you may think are not earth-shattering open some doors that will bust some things wide open. So I just urge you to feel free to contact us, reach out to us. We'll come sit down and meet with you privately. We'll do an assessment and we'll take it back to our director. And we'll make a decision, and if we need to follow up or do more work, we'll do that. We won't jump to a conclusion. We just need to have time to talk. And so no matter how minor it is, reach out to us. If we don't think it's anything, we'll get back with you and say, hey, we'll data file this, and we'll have them look at it when they come in to do the next audit. And if there's nothing there, nobody will be the wiser. The third one's the tattletale syndrome, and I don't know if that reaches out to you guys, but when I was in third grade, you just didn't do that kind of thing to your friends. And we've got to get over that. That's, you've got a professional responsibility to the taxpayers, and if you see that, we need to grow up and get over that one. Probably one of the biggest ones I think that I would deal with if I was in that position is I do not want to hurt someone's reputation if they're not really stealing. Okay, and I'm going to tell you that that's one of our primary concerns when we come in. We will spend as much time trying to prove that person's innocence as we do their guilt. Okay, nobody wants to trash anyone's reputation, and we take extra care not to do that. So. The amount taken is not large enough. This is only a couple $100. I'm going to tell you that if you found one, it's kind of like they used to say about mice. If you've seen one, there's probably 10 of them running around. It's not going to be the first time that person's done it. The chances of that happening are very remote. So the fact that you identified maybe a theft of $200 or a receipt of $200 cash that didn't get deposited, maybe, but there's a good chance it's not. So reach out to us, let us know what it was, how you found it, and again, kind of let us make that call. They say there are 3 kinds of people that commit fraud. One person would never do it, no matter what. It's not going to happen. I'm just not going to take any money. We all like to be there. The second one is, I'm going to take money the first opportunity I get where I think I can get it and nobody's going to know. And the third one is, I won't speak for you guys, but the third one's probably where I land, to be quite honest with you. Under enough duress, you don't know what you'd do. There's a chance you could resort to it. So good people, because I think I'm not the best, but I'm up there a little bit. Good people can still fall subject to theft, and so I just scratched out a couple of reasons why. I think you can come up with more, but let's just ask yourself for a minute, what happened if my child needed surgery to live and doc wanted a $10,000 down payment before he'd do anything, and I didn't have $10,000? But all of a sudden that day, utility collection or settlement, well, you guys don't get a chance to get your fingers on that, but someone in the treasurer's office has this problem. All of a sudden settlement comes in and there's $10,000 cash sitting there. There's the answer to their problem. Okay? Now, they may well intend to pay it back, but there's the answer to their problem. Oh, I don't know that I can answer what I would do in that situation. If that's, How about if your spouse loses their job and they're maybe the main breadwinner? You've got car payments coming up. You've got house payments coming up. Kids need new shoes. That would put some pressure on you. That would make that decision much tougher to say, no, I'm not going to do it than if everything's going good. College debt. I sent 3 kids through college. That sucks on the budget pretty hard. Okay, so that might be something that would cause you to jump the fence. How about if you got passed up for a raise that you really deserved? The county went on a new computer system. You busted your butt. You were there on weekends. You were meeting with the vendor. The commissioners told you that they would see to it that you were taken care of next year when it come time, budget time, and budget time comes and the council says, you just can't do it. Just can't do it. We're going to give you a 2% raise like everyone else next year. Yeah. You know, that's kind of a slap in the face. And some people justify their theft by saying, you promised me. And we talked about this one earlier. I can't tell you how many times I've worked a theft where the first theft or two, you'll see it not get deposited, and then 4 or 5 months later, you'll see a deposit come in that's heavy, it's long, for the amount that was taken originally. They'll start off by making it loans, justifying it to themselves that, hey, I'm only going to use it for a couple months, I'll get it back. Invariably, they get beyond where they can get it paid back, and then it turns into a bigger issue. So good people, under the certain requirements, can still fall prey to it. There's darker sides to it. Some examples of darker sides are on the slide there: drugs, gambling. You know, we've had issues where a lot of the money stole went to gambling. I'm going to tell you that we can go to the casinos, we can find out what machine they set at, we can find out what they drank while they were sitting at that machine, we can find out what they won, what they lost, and the day. We can tell if you went to the ATM while you were there. So gambling is a big one. The last one I put was just from personal experience. The school treasurer that committed suicide, as we got into hers and we went into her personal transactions, the overwhelming majority of her expenses were on her grandchildren. She just wanted them to have everything under the sun. And she, I mean, it had a tragic ending for her. But, you know, a lot of these people are not taking the money for themselves. They're taking it for the benefit of someone else. So good people can still justify bad things. So there's the reasons that good people can make bad decisions. The reasons you can feel comfortable contacting us about that and fulfilling your requirement will be, number one, again, and this is kind of a summary of what I've already said as I went through. We're not going to jump to conclusions. Okay, we're going to do our due diligence. We'll meet with you in a confidential, private manner. We'll discuss the case. We'll look at documents and do a preliminary assessment. If we agree with you after that assessment that there's something there, we'll open an investigation. And we'll move forward with an investigation. The second reason is the confidentiality of our investigation. That's a real point of pride for us. Is we're not gonna do the investigation in the newspaper. We're not going to do it on social media. We're not going to do it on television. Nobody's going to know about this investigation until it's completed. We're good. We have the access to the resources necessary to do an investigation. We work with FBI, we work with the state police, we work with the U.S. Attorney's Office, we work with the auditor state. We've got access to resources that you guys don't have to do an internal investigation. So I'm going to tell you that we have units that contact us, and they've already done an investigation. And they contact us and say, we think we got this problem, we've got it identified. Well, I can tell you there was one that started out about $7,000. And when we got done, it was about $165,000. That's not unusual. Okay, so we've got access to resources that you guys don't. We've got subpoena powers. We've got, the state police's database information. We've got FBI's database information. So, we can do a more thorough investigation. The next one is we're independent. I can't tell you, I think I can honestly say I don't know the politics of anybody that we're investigating. I don't care. So we come in with no bias, no political bias, no personal bias, no agenda. We're not, I don't care if you're running against them in the next election. We're just the facts, ma'am, as Friday said. We just want to see what's going on. We want to get to the bottom of it, and we want to get it fixed. So who do I contact? I got something I think I need to talk to you about. Who do I contact? There's a number of ways you can get a hold of the Board of Accounts, okay? You can contact me, Dean Gerlach, if it's in the north. My number's up there. Tammy Baker is the coordinator in the south. Her number's up there. Mark Mahan is the director. He's over the whole state. He's the FBI fellow that I mentioned earlier. You can contact him, or you can contact us at our website and send us an email. Any of the above will work. Just reach out to us and let us know what happens, and we do our best. Right now, we're following up with an assessment meeting 2 to 3 weeks after we're notified of a problem. So we'll get to you. We'll get to you reasonably quick. Okay. So in the spirit of the fine Hoosier, Dave Letterman, I'm going to wrap up here with the top 10 reasons to keep us informed. Okay? The first reason is because you're going to get to meet some really interesting, good-looking investigators. I'm telling you, we're prettier than the audit side. We are. Okay? Yeah, older, absolutely. Okay, the second reason is because mugshots are never very good, and they're always the ones that the newspaper puts in the paper or that shows up on television. So you don't want to have that. The next one is you're just going to sleep better. Next one is the earlier a problem's identified, the easier it's going to be to resolve. It is a lot easier to say, hey, we got this problem and I think it's been going on for a year. If you wait and that conversation becomes, well, we noticed something about 2 years ago but didn't do anything. Now we've got 3 years worth of the analysis. The number's going to be bigger. The investigation's going to take longer. It's going to be tougher on everybody. So the earlier you notify us, the better chance for a quick resolution. The next one is about setting the tone in your office. If you know that's happening and you take the high road and say, we've got to get this reported, you've set an example to every one of your staff. You've showed them that this office is dedicated to excellence, it's dedicated to public service, and if there's something wrong, we're going to take the high road, we're going to get it dealt with and move on, rather than, well, we're just going to shove this under the rug here and hope nobody finds it. It's a lot better to self-report your problem than to have it come to us via newspaper, social media, which, who knows what kind of what kind of stuff's going to be added to that. We take that with a grain of salt, but we're also put in kind of a tough position. We can't completely ignore that. So if you're the one that brings it up to the table, it's going to reflect a lot better on you than if you wait and it comes from some unknown third party or from some disgruntled citizen. So get in front of it. Public transparency. Okay, I've heard that term so much in the last 10 years that it drives me nuts. But it is a fact that it's important that citizens know what's going on. And if there's something really going on, you want to make that known. Hold the wrongdoers responsible for their action. You know, that's going to be a tough one because, you know, look at the person beside you. That might end up being the person you would have to turn in. Okay, it's people that you work with every day. And I see it all the time. There's disappointment. There's a feeling of betrayal. There's, I mean, I have done investigations where the official that had to turn it in took the news harder than the thief. You know, it's I can't believe that you did this to me. We worked side by side. We worked together. You know, we went on trips together. And all the time you were twisting the knife in my back. So, you know, it's a matter of at some point in time, while they may be close to you, they need to be held accountable for that. They betrayed you, they betrayed the taxpayer, and they need to be held accountable. So that's important. This one kind of, we've touched on it in a number of places, but it's to maintain the public's confidence. We all know the public loves to take shots at government. The private sector can do the job better. There's waste. There's there's 100 reasons, and they all think, well, they all think they're our boss, and you know that they should be able to tell us how to do our job. And to a certain degree, that might be true, but we've got a job to do, and so doing it to the best of our ability squelches some of that. So it's important that you do that just so that you can show that we're above board. And the number one reason to keep the State Board of Accounts Investigations Division informed is because you really don't want to see Paul Joyce mad. I have, okay? He ain't the prettiest fellow to begin with. When he's mad, he's scary. So that's my top 10. I'm going to wrap it up. We have any questions? Fire it. I'll repeat your question for him. Go ahead.
All right. Talk about transparency for a moment, since you like it so much.
Yeah.
If embezzlement happens in the treasurer's office, and the treasurer reports it on the monthly financial report as a reconciling item, much as you would report a deposit in transit, for instance, is that very transparent? Is that really accountable?
Not in my opinion, no. I mean, if you've got an unidentified reconciling item, you're not reconciled.
Well, it's identified as
unidentified.
under the name of the person who stole the money, but it just says that. It's the treasurer's chief deputy. Yes. You know who I am now.
Yeah.
The treasurer's chief deputy has her name on the financial report, just under her name. That's all.
Was the shortage the result of an investigation?
Oh, yes.
Okay. That's all you can do right now. Okay, unless that thing has been adjudicated and you know that you're never going to get that money back.
Yeah,
If that's the case, then I would suggest that you discuss that with your counsel.
okay.
You get the authority to make an adjustment and adjust it off. There's no reason to carry a reconciling item related to theft that's never going to be collected.
That's my position too,
Right.
yes.
Right.
Very good, thank you.
My question's a lot nicer than that one. And I've been there, sweetie, so I feel sorry for you. My question is, I really liked your presentation. It was really nice. I think we all did. It was like, it was cute, it was interesting, but it was also filled with important stuff.
Thank
But it's
you.
different than what's in our printed material. Is there any way that you could email that to us? Because I think if we have
This, absolutely.
someone come into our office and report something and they're scared, that would be a great presentation to give them. So
Sure.
that they know that, hey, I'm going to report this, but this is how it works and, you know, blah, blah, blah. So thank
Lori-
you.
Lori, can I,
We can add it to the website, so
Okay.
we'll get it on there next week. After we get back to the office, it will not be there this afternoon. Don't ask me.
if it goes to the website and Paul finds out I said he was ugly, this may be my last presentation, but,
We'll take that slide out.
okay, no, I'll leave it in. I like a good challenge.
Okay, as a county that went through a rather huge investigation, is there something that can be done where you have more teeth when local officials that are in the know of these investigations but don't keep their mouths closed? Is there anything that can be done? I mean, we in the office were told, not a peep, nothing.
Right.
And we obeyed that, but others did not. So, and I'm not gonna name names, but
No,
is there
that's-
something that can be, should we be reporting those people talking? Because you definitely don't want to alert that individual under investigation.
Right.
That there's
And-
something
And there's
going on.
always politics involved in that. You know, I don't have the answer for that. I don't know that it's criminal, but that is absolutely the reason why we play everything so close to our vest, is because we try to make every effort to just not give those individuals that information. I don't know that there's any remedy for it. I don't have an answer. That leaks are going to happen, but I'm pretty comfortable telling you they won't originate with us. But others? Okay. Well, oh, got one.
Some of the instances that you mentioned, it seems like good internal controls can catch some of those things. But then you dealt with one is with kickbacks, and when you have multiple parties that are working together to take money out of the public tills, how do you identify that, and what are some good ways to realize that that's happening?
Okay. The one I was talking about was a school corporation. In this instance, it was for lawn chemicals, treating the football field, and they had, you know, just exorbitant expenses related to those items, and they started looking at them and called the maintenance guy in, and at first he denied it, and then over the night, I guess he had a come to meet Jesus moment, and the next day he came in with the smell of alcohol in his breath and spilled his guts to him. So about the only way I know of that you're really gonna get to that is, number one, if the relationship between the contractor and the person taking the kickbacks deteriorates to the point that one individual's upset, or number two, in most cases, if they're buying enough product to warrant a kickback, you'll be able to tell it by comparing from year to year to year to year. And all of a sudden, you're going to see your expenses for that just climbing to a point that's just inexplicable. So that's, without someone rolling, probably just keeping a close eye on the expenses and making sure that they're justified. I mean, these guys are spending like $300,000 a year on chemicals. And that's they only had one football field, one baseball field. That's, it was not reasonable. So that's part of what that would be my answer, is just watch your expenses. Watch your employees. Again, if they go through any of those list items that would indicate that maybe they're reaching one of those stress levels where they might be susceptible to it, kind of give them a break and reach out to them and try to be a person instead of a boss, and maybe gently, at least temporarily, put some controls in place that look them over. And you made a statement that I'd like to touch on, because internal controls, how many of you think them's just a pain in the butt? There's nothing efficient about an internal control, is there? Absolutely. Now, let me.
If you're not doing your internal control, what you're talking about, Dean, is going to happen.
Absolutely.
And so get over the fact that they're a pain in the butt and just do them, because otherwise your butt's on the line.
I'm going to tell you, the biggest believer in internal controls is the official that's been through a theft. Okay, they all of a sudden understand the value of that then.
The bottom line is, I raised my right hand and said I would solemnly swear to do this.
Absolutely.
I rose my hand and said I solemnly swear to do this. That's all there is to it. Right?
Absolutely.
We gotta get over
Absolutely.
that. We gotta get over that mindset that it's a pain in the ass. It is.
There's no doubt about it.
That's what we signed up for, ladies and gentlemen. That's what I signed up for. Sorry, Dean.
No, you took my thunder, but that's fine. I agree with you.
And I gotta move Dean on here, because he's already got himself in trouble with, I've already got a text. He's been seeing him on video. He's been watching him on video. Dean, that was an outstanding presentation.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm sorry to hijack it.
No problem.
But when I hear about internal controls and people, and you notice nobody raised their hand.
Oh, I seen a couple, but I won't tell you who they
did
were.
So take this as an opportunity. I travel the state, and I hear all over the state that I just can't get my departments to cooperate. I can't get my sheriff. I can't get my chief. I can't get whoever to cooperate with me. The internal controls is your opportunity to make them cooperate with you. It's your leverage. It's your statutory obligation. We've already made that clear. But your leverage to get these folks to do their job as well. Because the way you're going to catch the fraud is by making them sit down and go line for line, vendor for vendor, contract for contract. And heaven forbid if you have a contract that says automatic renewal for the next 20 years. That is a recipe for fraud. Automatic renewal contracts are a recipe for fraud. And if you have them out there, shame on your county attorney. Shame on your county attorney. I understand that. Shame on the city and town attorney. I'm just telling you, folks, because you're ASS is on the line because you raised your right hand and said, "I solemnly swear." And I hate it when I have elected officials, when I hear of elected officials, I don't care that are well-intentioned, that have put themselves in a bad position unbeknownst to them because they trusted somebody and they didn't do their internal controls, and now they're the ones who are hurt by it. My pain aches for those folks. Okay? So please, use those internal controls to help you do your job, help get your departments to get them to do their job. And part of that is in my mind, starts with the budgeting process. I won't belabor this, but additional appropriations, you knew this was going to come up, didn't you? Are another possible avenue for fraud. Okay? So, Dean, I'm got on my soapbox there when you bring up internal
I couldn't have
controls.
said it better than myself. Amen.
Again, I'm going to take about 5 minutes after you're done, and I'll sit down and shut up for a minute.
Okay, I'm pretty well wrapped up. Only thing I would tell you is that if today, this is going to be kind of like the altar call at church. If today you feel like you'd like to come forward and talk to me,
You have your own room set up in the back,
that's right.
Okay.
No, you will notice us because we're the ones with the stylish blue shirts. That's the investigations team. I'm serious. If you've got something that you're concerned about, we're sitting out at the resource table today. If you want to just stop by, give me your name and phone number on a piece of paper so we don't have to talk about it here, we can do that. If you'd like to talk about it here, we'll go find a secluded place somewhere where we can talk about it, and you know, we can enter it into our system and start dealing with it. So I urge you to take the opportunity today, if you've got something, to reach out and let us know, and we'll see what we can do. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Dean. Since you already have the microphone, Wes, Matt said Wes made his apologies.